Hi, this is Terry Bly. I'm a clinical psychologist at Lynn Lake Centers for Wellbeing, and I am out on my lunchtime walk, and I thought I would take a moment to talk to you about diagnosing yourself with ADHD. It's something that's come up quite a bit at our practice, and so I just wanted to talk to you about why it can be problematic to give yourself or someone that you know that diagnosis. First though, I want to talk about ADHD. Brief overview here. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, ADHD is thought to be a disorder of executive functioning. And executive functioning, that's that higher order stuff like planning and organizing, motivating, focus, things like that. And in ADHD, for whatever reason, people struggle with executive functioning kinds of tasks. So the first problem though with diagnosing yourself with ADHD is that very few of us have, I guess I call it perfect executive functioning, meaning most of us could look at the criteria for ADHD and we're going to resonate with at least a few of those things. For example, a lot of people might hyper focus on something they find really interesting and have trouble focusing on stuff that they don't find particularly compelling. That doesn't mean you have ADHD. A lot of people struggle with starting big projects, or they start them and they don't always finish them. Again, that's pretty common. Not all of those people who struggle with that have ADHD. Most of us, I would argue, are sensitive to rejection, but just having rejection sensitivity, as it's sometimes called, does not mean you have ADHD. So ADHD is really a constellation of impairments across several areas of executive functioning. And those impairments need to be getting in the way of 2 or more areas of your life, as is the kind of the specific terminology. So it needs to be getting in the way at work and at home and with friends or at school, multiple areas, not just one. So really when we're talking about ADHD, we're talking about a group of impairments, not just a couple. The other one, and this to me is even the bigger concern with diagnosing yourself with ADHD, and the reason I would encourage you to avoid it, is that there are a lot of other mental and physical health conditions that can show up almost identical to ADHD. For example, anxiety disorders look a lot like ADHD. Complex, chronic trauma in a person's life can definitely show up looking a lot like ADHD. Sleep deprivation looks a lot like ADHD, as poor diet and nutrition can show up as ADHD symptoms and traits. So it's really important to know that just because you're hearing about ADHD and you're thinking, wow, that kind of sounds like me, that doesn't necessarily mean that what you have is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Okay, so what do you do if you are watching some of these videos and reading about stuff and you're like, man, it sure sounds like I have ADHD? Well, I would encourage you to do the same thing that you would do if you had a physical symptom and you Google that and sounds like cancer or something else. You would go to your doctor and you'd say, hey, I've got this symptom and I'm a little worried because it's getting in the way. Can you help me? Can you help me get some tests? And that's exactly what I would encourage you to do with ADHD. If you think that you've got some of these symptoms and traits, I would encourage you to go to your therapist or to your doctor and say, here's what I'm noticing. And I've been reading about ADHD. Kind of sounds like me. Can you help me? Can you help me get tested? Can you help me figure out what to do next? Because then it becomes a conversation starter. And that way, even if you don't have ADHD, even if you don't meet criteria, those things you're struggling with are still things you're struggling with. And hopefully your provider, your therapist, your primary care doctor can help you get to the bottom of what's causing those symptoms and help you create some solutions so that you can still function better in your life with or without that diagnosis.